Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode, greedy grabbers get exactly what they take. Reposted from elsewhere. Sweet older lady in our church was a retired nurse. Never married, no kids. She had a heart attack, and while she was in the hospital, her niece and nephew thought she was dying. They came and took her stuff. Her apartment was small, but she had some very nice crystal and silver, and some lovely antique furniture. When she came home, she had no dishes and almost no furniture. Niece and nephew denied it, but the neighbors had seen them carting everything away. Several years later, she passed away. Her most recent will, dated after her heart attack, left $1 each to her niece and nephew. Everything else went to the church. Her estate was $9 million. Story 2. Pretend to be my friend to sabotage me. Enjoy being homeless. This might be a little long. We have 3 people in this story: me, Sarah, and my ex-friend Jay. This is how I got back at my snake of a friend. Me, Jay, and Sarah all worked at a retail store. I worked up front, Jay worked in the back, and Sarah was one of the supervisors. I first met Sarah, and we became fast friends. Sarah was always nice to me and helped me whenever I needed help. Sarah introduced me to Jay, who worked in the back, so I never interacted with her. Sarah said she was a good person to be friends with. So I took her at her word, and that's how me and Jay became friends. Jay was older than me. I was in my early 20s, and she was closer to 60, but age didn't stop us from having a lot in common. I'm not used to being friends with girls due to past experiences, but at this time, I wanted to move past it. Jay and I got closer because I started school and Sarah only worked during the week. In the morning SMD, I had to cut my hours and worked only the weekends and towards the afternoon, so I barely saw Sarah anymore. When I first met Jay, she came across as blunt and too in your business, but I just chalked it up as being an overprotective friend. She wasn't afraid to stand up for herself and speak her opinion, and I admired her for that and look up to her like a big sister. But then I started seeing in her personality. The first instance was when we were casually talking and one of the new hired girls had a hole in her pants. The hole wasn't noticeable, you only see it if you was looking for it. Our retail store had no uniform, but they did have a dress code that we couldn't wear jeans with holes in them. Jay saw this and decided to report her to management. When I asked her why she would do that, Jay's response was, "Since I couldn't do it, she can't do it either." I was stunned, but I didn't say anything. I just minded my own business. I wish I did say something, because the girl wasn't bothering her, she just wanted to be noisy. Then you turned your attention to me. I wanted to improve my life and start dating again, so I lost weight, started wearing my hair longer. I also started dressing up at work, but never out of the dress code. I also started going back to school. Jay didn't like this, but I didn't catch on to this at first. She would make passive-aggressive comments about me being out of dress code, or I shouldn't wear that to work, but she always said in a joking way, so I didn't take it seriously. One time she called me for wearing a tank top on my lunch, but I thought she was just acting like a concerned mother instead of a jealous friend, so I played it off. Soon after, I would get calls in the manager office about the way I was dressing. It was almost every day that I came in dress up. It was annoying. They would even call me in the office on my days off, just when I was just shopping. I would go to Jay and complain about it. She would listen, offer advice, and support me. She even claimed she reported the girls who was doing it, but wouldn't even give me their names. I should have known she was lying then, but I just took her at her word, and we got closer because of that situation. Then I started dating my now ex. When I started dating him, she would constantly get into our business. Every time we would fight, she'd get in the middle of it and take his side over mine and tell me I was wrong for standing up for myself. I was shocked and hurt when she would do this and start feeling guilty that I was in the wrong. I trusted her judgment and opinion, and she took advantage of it. Whenever I go to her for support, she would always take his side over mine and offer me no support, but gave it all to him. I was so confused at the time. I kept asking myself what I did so wrong to get her to hate me so much. Honestly, what she did hurt way more than what my ex did. One day, me and my ex got into a huge fight, and she took his side over mine, based off of a comment I said that had nothing to do with her. She made it seem like I was the devil and he can do no wrong. Even after I told her he cheated on me and lied to me, her exact words, I kid you not, was, "You deserve to get cheated on because you're a terrible GF and you should have kept your legs closed." She then proceeds, "Call me easy." This woman admitted to and openly bragged about sleeping with a married man to his wife off, but wants to talk down to me for having intimacy with my then boyfriend, at the time who I was with for almost a year, who I made wait 6 months for intimacy. The revenge. After this situation, I was really depressed for a while. It's one thing to get screwed over by your significant other, but to have your supposed to be close friend over was too much, and I shut down. I stopped dressing up and taking care of myself. I just wanted to be alone. My other friends started to be concerned, so I went to therapy. My therapist made me see how toxic and abusive my ex and Jay was, and made me realize that this situation wasn't my fault and I wasn't the bad person that Jay made me out to be, and I did nothing wrong except trust her. So 1 year afterwards, Jay was let go by my store for a medical emergency at work. Her doctor wouldn't approve her working. She was basically fired from the company. Around the same time, Sarah's mother died, and soon after Sarah started having health problems as well and was forced to retire earlier than she wanted to. I got wind of this through my HR at my job. My HR lady also let slip that Jay, my supposed friend, was the one filing false reports against me behind my back the entire time. Jay was such a liar and a manipulator. She would set me up and then save me, so I'd blindly trust her with her having my back. I felt so stupid for not seeing the red flags. My HR lady also said she would do this to many other people, and the other reason she wasn't hired back is because Jay had moral complaints about her from other employees. My HR lady was also sick of her, and they don't get along. That's why Jay never liked her. When I heard all this, I wanted revenge. I knew from a mutual co-worker of ours that Jay was going to move in with Sarah. You see, Sarah was moving to be closer over family and take care of her father now that he alone without her mother, and Jay was bragging about how they were going to be roommates. So I got into contact with Sarah through social media and told her everything, the lies, the manipulation, how she kept interfering with my relationship with my ex. Needless to say, Sarah was honestly, I didn't think she believed me, but when I convinced my HR lady to back me up, she did. Sarah then confronted Jay about it, and Jay not only admitted it, but she called me an entitled who think the entire world revolves around her, and Sarah shut her down and went off on her. Sarah went through the same thing with her ex-husband, who cheated on her with another man, and her children taking his side over her just because he was gay. So she really took this personally. Sarah kicked Jay out because her name wasn't on the lease, and Jay is now essentially homeless. She was living with her sister, but her sister doesn't want to deal with her anymore. Last time I saw her, her health took a turn for the worst, and now she has to use a walker to get around. I'm not gonna lie, I was happy when I heard this. If it makes me a terrible person in other people's eyes, but I wanted Jay to suffer for what she put me through. I still deal with the baggage she inflicted on me from the situation. My trust with other females is now worst. I'm scared to dress up anymore because I'm scared something like this will happen again. I'm still at therapy and it's getting better, but I got a long journey. I know someday I may have to forgive her, but I'm not there yet. And this is my revenge. Story 3. My sister doesn't want to free her live and unpaid maid, so I got her fired. Obligatory backstory. Many of you have probably heard of families with strong hierarchy structure, normally with the eldest in the family having the most influence. My family is one of them, except that my parents are drug addicts, deadbeats, so my eldest sister, 31F, our entitled mother, raised all 5 of us. She is the boss of the family. She says, jump. Everyone says how high. The focal point of the story is my youngest sister, 20F, who I'll call Little Sister. Most of us have a handful, or at least a couple of memories with our mother before she lost her, except for Little Sister. For her, entitled mother is the only mom she ever had, and entitled mother knows how to take advantage of that. All of us noped out of our parents' house as soon as we turned 18, except for entitled mother, who waited until Little Sister and our brother were raised and in their mid-teens to move across the country, and soon found jobs and accommodations for all of us to move to the same state as her. Little Sister begged for years to move in with her, but entitled mother always denied, saying that somebody had to take care of our father, and because she and her new husband needed privacy and space. That was until entitled mother got pregnant. She got Little Sister to move in with her, and she has been there for the past 2.5 years, helping out. Now to the story. Entitled father's family wanted to visit for a couple of weeks, so Little Sister had to stay with me for that time so that they could use her room. It's worth noting that entitled mother didn't ask or let me know about it. She just dropped Little Sister off. One day she saw me studying for my master's degree and said something about how she always wanted to go to college, and this is how it went. Me? So why don't you? Little Sister. Oh, I talked to entitled mother about it, but she said not everyone is the college type, and that I wouldn't have time to work, study, and take care of niece at the same time, and it's expensive. Me. Most people work and study and at the same time, and she can put niece in a daycare. I'm sure it wouldn't be that much more expensive than what she's already paying you. Little sister. She doesn't pay me. She already gives me food and shelter, and if I need money, I just take a shift at work. And this is how I learned my sister was not only babysitting, but also cleaning the whole house for free every day. She was even only working 8 hours a week at her normal job because she was too busy taking care of our niece. Long story short, it took me weeks to convince her to apply to community college, and then more weeks on the actual process, but she finally got confirmation she would start in September. All of that behind entitled mother's back. She was planning on telling everyone the next time we all got together, which would be Independence Day. But before that could happen, entitled mother got everyone together at her house to announce that she was pregnant. Little sister starts crying because now she wouldn't be allowed to go to college. Entitled mother gets deeply hurt and offended that she planned this behind her back. I butt in. Our other siblings butt in. It's just generally a mess. How could you do this to me? Who's going to take care of the babies? I can't believe you'd be so selfish. If you like OP so much, go stay with her. These were all some of the things she said. She kicked me and little sister out, who stayed with me until they made peace. Both of our siblings reached out, one to say that I should have minded my own business, and other to tell me she was on my side but wouldn't say anything. After that, little sister moved back with her and didn't go to college. But they agreed she would get paid $6 an hour and be allowed to take more shifts at her job until the baby is born, and then go to real college after the child turns 1 year old. I know it's messed up, but all of them, especially little sister, worship entitled mother like a god. I waited a year to act on my revenge, making sure my sister had saved enough money to live on her own. The revenge. First, what I did was research the legality of paying a homeless person in food and shelter. In the U.S., and depending on the state, it's legal as long as you do not cross the line and the person becomes an employee. For example, you can give the person a list of tasks you want done. However, you cannot say that it has to be done in a certain amount of time. You also cannot request someone to be somewhere at a certain time. You can ask but not demand on the time. It comes down to a choice of words. Also, you have to comply with rental laws. If your local laws say that you must give 30 days notice to a tenant, then you must give 30 days notice to this person as well. I had proof of all of the situation, several screenshots of entitled mother admitting not paying and not allowing little sister to move out / get a job, and also admitting to kicking her out whenever she wanted. All this technicality seemed worthless since no one would sue her. But that didn't matter. I just wanted to make sure that her boss knew that if she were to be sued, it would be a sure case. Entitled mother works for a civil rights attorney's office, so discovering she has a literal modern day would probably get her fired. I could have just created a burner email and sent it all to her boss, but then they would explain to her why she's getting fired, and that would get me and little sister in trouble. So what did I do? Entitled mother was always complaining about one of the bosses on her job that hated her and had tried to get her fired for ages. I went to the company site, found the woman. Thankfully, she was the only Ashley that worked there. Found her on Instagram and Facebook. There she had a post tagging her yoga studio. Went to said studio and created my membership. It took a few weeks of trial and error trying to find exactly what class Ashley belonged to, but I finally found her. Then I went to yoga class every Tuesday and Friday at 8 a.m. for months, slowly building a friendship with her. Around 3 months and she asked to follow me on Instagram, and I was already prepared for this scenario, having deleted the few pictures I had with entitled mother. After 9 months, when our friendship was a strong baby, I brought up the crazy coincidence that I found out she worked with entitled mother. Before things could get awkward, I said it's ironic that she works for civil rights considering, everything. That got Ashley's attention. I told her everything. Showed every screenshot. I could practically see her eyes shining. They had their own history that is not important to the story. All you need to know is, entitled mother is a Ashley wants revenge as much as I do. I told her about little sister's situation and why entitled mother couldn't ever know about this. This is why being friends with Ashley was so important. If I had just sent them the proof and explained the situation, they would have probably just ignored it, since this was a very legitimate reason to fire her and they wouldn't risk firing her for a minor mistake and maybe getting sued. I sent her the files with her promise that entitled mother wouldn't hear about this, but she needed it to convince the other owner, who was the reason why she wasn't fired yet. 2 months later, entitled mother was fired for minor mistakes, lateness and general bad productivity. Small victories, sure, but I loved coming to visit her during the 4 months she was unemployed. She was looking so tired and miserable all the time since she had no money to pay for a babysitter and little sister is away at college, so she actually had to take care of her children. Moral of the story, check on your siblings. They might be living in a modern arrangement. Story 4. Do not want me to work my notice. Okay, I will not work during my notice. I was working in an organization that was super toxic. So much so that we were a revolving door. Most employees stayed only for a few months. To counter this, our management put a 3 months notice into everyone's contract, including the existing employees. It's not strictly illegal where this happened, but very unusual. I believe the idea behind that was to make it harder for the employees to find a job outside, as potential employers didn't usually want to wait for 3 months. However, this didn't work, as most people simply quit and waited for a month or two before starting their job hunt. I was there for almost 4 years. I needed the money, so I put up with whatever abusive was thrown at me. My boss was a guy we'll call Vince, not actual name. Now, Vince was not particularly good, but he sometimes respected the fact that I was the most tenured grunt in this organization. Do note that after about 2 years, I was doing a LOT of additional work in addition to my official responsibilities, primarily because I was the only one who knew how to do those. Everyone else had already left. This will become important later. Enter Rajesh, also not actual name. Rajesh was poached from a somewhat infamous company and was literally flown in from a different continent. He was brought in to strategically improve our division. This was quite strange given that our division generated most profits. Within months, Rajesh made the environment even more toxic. He pulled Vince's team under him and got Vince fired, and he actively encouraged us grunts to spy on each other. Rajesh also had it out for me from day one. Until today, I don't know why. He started making my life much harder than the others. This culminated in him taking me aside and telling me that I was not pulling my weight. Now, at this point, I was doing quite well in the organization, plus I have been doing a LOT of additional work critical to our business since only I knew certain systems and processes. See high attrition above. So I was quite angry. I started looking out. I wasn't still brave enough to quit and start looking. Fortunately, I was able to find a job that was willing to wait the 3 months. So it was my turn to take Rajesh aside and tell him I quit. Boy, Rajesh was. He went from denial, "You can't quit," to negotiation. "What if I give you a raise at the year end," before acceptance. Thus, I was serving my notice and working away like an honest bee, my usual work plus the additional work. At this point, I was called in by HR and told that Rajesh wanted me gone. The insane part was that they wanted me to pay the company for the 2.5 months shortfall in notice. I obviously refused, then went back and checked the contract. Turns out that a notice of less than 3 months could only happen through mutual consent, and the initiating party, company if they wanted me gone sooner or me if I wanted to leave earlier, had to compensate the other party for the shortfall. The next day, I stopped doing almost all of my work. I logged in and logged out my hours and did. I stopped doing any additional work I've been doing and started taking it really slow on my primary job responsibilities. Since no one else understood the details of what I did, I knew it would be very hard for Rajesh or HR to prove that I was doing any of this on purpose. Then I sat back with my popcorn. Soon there was a complete meltdown all around. Rajesh would pull me into meetings and scream and try to bully me, and I would say nothing but smirk to his face. Next, they tried to have someone else learn the additional work I used to do from me so that they could do what I did. Remember I said earlier how I was the only one who knew some of the old systems and processes? Well, now I claimed I didn't really remember any of them, so obviously there could be no handover. Rajesh could do nothing, as none of this had been my responsibility or part of my contract, since the leadership had been only too happy to see me do this for free. Soon my workplace turned into a dumpster fire. The HR/Rajesh smartened up and offered to buy out my notice if I cooperated and helped transition my work. I refused. Then, to twist the knife further, I started having meetings with fellow grunts. Remember, everyone was always a newbie, and encouraging them to leave as well, indirectly, nothing that could implicate me. HR tried to get me to lead twice more, but I ended up serving the full 3 months. Remember the mutual consent part. Edit. Made minor edits for better readability. Thanks for the feedback, kind people. Edit 2. Since a lot of people asked, the company is still around. They started outsourcing a lot of our work to Asia, specifically the country that Rajesh was originally from, where I believe the labor laws are much less stringent and employees are much more willing to put up with a toxic work environment. Rajesh is also doing very well for himself. He has now moved to yet another country, one a lot of Redditors are from, and is with an employer that employs of people. I suspect some of you reading this have or will come in contact directly or indirectly with him. My condolences.